It's cold out here and I feel lonely. Oh no, the time can move so slowly. And in the distance I hear voices. Are they real or are they in my head? I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick. And I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick. And now I feel alive. Feel alive. Feel alive. Feel alive. And now I feel alive. So many times they try to change me, and every time it drives me crazy. And all the good times we had saved me. Are they real or are they in my head? I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick. And I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick. And now I feel alive. Feel alive. Feel alive. Feel alive. And now I feel alive.
Hello, old friend. This is Auto Club. This is Fontana, and this is a part of the Indy Open Series. As today, we get set for the Euro SOF race here on Velocity Online Racing and find out who gets the job done tonight. This 2-mile facility that now is warehouses in real life. Today, the virtual track will host some exciting action. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside is Ewan O'Leary for this evening's coverage, with Julien Altena as our producer. Onboard cameras provided by Julien Altena, and track cams provided by trackcams22.com. Tonight's going to be a fun one tonight as we go to what was a classic race in real life for so many years. Fontana, Ewan. Tonight should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. It's great to be back here at Auto Club Speedway in IndyCar Series racing. We haven't seen this for over a decade in the real world. One of the great things about iRacing is that it preserves some of these great races that we're not going to be able to have in the real world anymore. And so hopefully tonight is one of those. 95 laps for us here tonight in decent conditions, as you can see. On the racetrack currently, track temp 53 degrees Celsius, that is 127 Fahrenheit, so slightly on the warm side, but yeah, looking forward to what should be a great race and a great throwback.
Absolutely, and keep in mind as these drivers make their way to the starting grid, it's expected to be another stacked field. 46.23 is your iRating average here, the SOF for this afternoon/evening. We have plenty of the fast drivers from the last time we ran to the Oval here today. Getting ready to see how those drivers qualified earlier on in the past few minutes. where today we see Anna Klemek make their debut here in this time slot here today, alongside Marco Brazil in the 10 car. Then runner through to Logan Edwards makes an appearance. Rode an F10 category qualifying effort in the 4th position, 2/10 off the pole. We're number 3, that's Casey Povlones, who will start alongside Milan Vogelsang, who's down in the 6th position. 7th goes to Indy Kirkenbauer here this evening in the 7th. Then Micah Mixer is down in 8th position. Rounding up the top 10 starting spots tonight is Alexander Russell, and Alan Berteau starts in P number 10.
11th place has gone to Noah Gilles here for this qualifying session, alongside Jacob Reed, who might have hoped to be a bit higher up in the 2 car. Olivier Simoneau is 13th alongside Jared Wakefield, and then a few drivers who might have expected to be further up the field. Kyle Klendworth, Ty Keeler and Seb Alexander all rounding out the 17 car field for tonight's race.
Look top to bottom of the running order here tonight for this afternoon/evening's action. How are things going to look in terms of your point structure coming in as well? That's going to be conversation here. After all, the overall points leader is still Caleb Bergier coming into today. Adam Blocker, 2nd. Edwards, Berteau, Jarrett Curry, who's been in this time slot once or twice in the top 5. Remember, we also keep points structured via the 4 points. That's similar to that of IndyCar/Champ Car points from around 2005-2009. Christian Hedegaard is at the top of that order. Not here today. Alan Berteau with a chance to take that lead possibly with Jacob Reed, Kevin Burrell, and Adam Williams up there also. But as we are into race number 4 of the season, it's expected to get interesting tonight, Ewan. These drivers almost set to start your quick keys to victory. 95 laps tonight.
Well, exactly. It could be quite a long race, could be quite a race of survival, but let's wait and see. It wasn't necessarily like that 2 weeks ago. The last oval we were at. Let's see how we go tonight.
Happy to have you with us for tonight's coverage of IndyCar Open Racing. We're underway from California. First lap complete, and it starts off with the 4 machine. Trying to battle out at the front of the field with Logan Edwards. That's Team I5G. It's keeping command to begin things off today. One of the faster organizations looking to strike first right in front of the voted machines and a couple of those Velocity Online Racing cars that are looking to battle as well. A lot of swap traffic expected early with the pack.
Almost 3 wide, just coming in towards turn 3 there, as expected. All across the road, these cars at the moment fighting for position right now. It's so wide, Auto Club Speedway, by scale of ovals. Really, really wide, and look at the amount of different lines that they can take here. Look at the amount of grooves there are. So far, we've only been going 3 wide at the very maximum, but we might even increase that coming towards the end later.
Yep, you see just how much some of the drivers want to shuffle here at this moment. Now, the interesting about this track expected today is short run versus long run. Short run, we expect things to stay packed there, but naturally over the course of the long run here, Ewan, things are expected to spread apart a fair bit. So it's so critical to get your spots sorted out in the queue with a lot of the swapping done now before things fall off around midway through the run, 15-20 laps in.
Yeah, it is going to change as we go through. I mean, say 2 weeks ago we had an oval race at Echo Park Speedway, and it was very, very close early on. It was really packed up, but it stretched out as we went along, and generally you do see that sort of stretching out in the field, just going on and on and on in the second part of the race, or the later part, I should say, of the race, certainly late part of the stints. So let's see how long this takes, but for the opening laps, the opening 5 laps and further, I would expect this is going to stay very, very close. It's about then who can sort of go with the top pace, which is really going to emerge out front very soon.
If you see that right now, still with the two teammates looking to control this pack. A couple of Vodas are up the order, some power slides, one or two Nexus machines down the order. Time being, looking to find some overall speed here today. But still, Clement and Edwards doing a good job controlling this pack. It seems as though some of these drivers, like you see with Gertrude Power and Company, try to join in, but the problem is they just can't get the line working, and that outside provides so much momentum in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. They always sort of fade up there, and you can see everybody crowding around. You can see off of 4, a little bit tight there that time round. Clemic just about had the space to do that in the end, and now gets into the draft of Edwards and looks to take the race lead as Kirchenbauer goes backwards on the front stretch, just slipping back into 5th position again with the guys up ahead, but then takes the lower line. Does he get clear? Not quite. Has to subsede the outside again, and F-Tink goes running back past, and there goes Edwards again, looking to retake the race lead again.
Yeah, continuing on, and Brazil is pitting. That's interesting. The 10 machine broke part of the front wing. That's why they're coming down pit road. Looks like that was because they got a little bit too close that time with F-Tank down the front, and all of a sudden it's a wing change already.
Yeah, that is very, very costly, but you can't be running around with the damaged wing round here. So high speed. Did he actually manage it with the wall? Looks like he's already missing it by this point, isn't he? I don't see a wing there. No, he's missing it already. So he might have tried to carry on for a short while here. Well, I suppose it was off of 4, so he wouldn't have had a chance to do it immediately. But he's just... Oh, that's very harsh. That is very, very harsh. But sometimes small bits of contact can take your front wing off. And he's realised immediately through 1 and 2 there, that time round, that he can't continue on with this. He has to take a very early and very potentially costly pit stop there.
Yep, indeed. And we have to figure out what we're going to do. At this point, you have to think about the strategy as well. The normal strat is a 2-stopper expectation today. You either go fast and undercut or fuel save. Look at the difference a little bit. That's about 5-10 laps difference on strategy. And that's going to be a pretty big difference later on depending on who tries what here. Because if you're thinking about that first strategy of going fast, there's a major gamble to that in that you're not going to be as fast at the end of the race compared to those going to have lighter cars and fresher tires later.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very similar in some ways to, again, what we saw at Echo Park a couple of weeks ago in that only oval race that we've seen prior to this point in the schedule for this season. We're going to go back-to-back with another oval next week. But, yeah, it feels similar in that sense. The fight around who's going to stop first, who's going to leave it long, all of those same dynamics are going to come up again here. But for the first, 30 laps, 25 laps or so, we'll just get to enjoy the racing, which is continuing for the lead right now.
Yeah, we're looking at the 3 wide, forming up for a split second. That's Vogel saying. He's trying to find a way to just make his way through the middle. Still, though, you'll find some of the drivers that make appearances today, like Wakefield, doing well to begin things off. Up 5, doing a good job plucking away the spots.
Again, I mentioned it earlier on, but you just start to see the first signs of this elastic just stretching a little bit here. And and look at the way that front of the field lined out. Clemic and Edwards have just been exchanging positions like this the whole way through, but the pace that they are keeping up means that the field behind is getting really lined out, and now is the time where you've got to be up towards the front here, or at least have the pace, and those around you have the pace to stay with them, because I think some gaps are going to start to emerge pretty soon now.
Yeah, this is where we're starting to see the splintering. Reed's already lost the pack for reference. Brazil, you already know, had the wing change. It's about 12, 13 seconds. Still, though, as we go about, not too many changes in amongst the front per se, outside of the swap draft. So what can you do to disrupt it?
Well, it's very difficult at the moment. You can see they're almost not fighting it at the moment, and that doesn't help. But it's pretty impossible to see where this is going to change from here, really, especially for the top two. It's almost also quite difficult to actually see who's got the speed, because the draft is just helping them both on so much right now. It's hard to tell who's quite got the edge for Clemic and Edwards, and everybody else who's following in behind as well. So let's see here when that moment comes, if that moment comes, how they're going to manage it. But looks very difficult to me to be breaking apart the slipstream from first to second, definitely until we've seen some pit stops here today.
Right now, this field just continuing to plot and plan itself, if you will, as the pack starts to get to interesting spots. The leaders, as we see, are starting to be break apart, but it's an interesting time to think about some of the teams that just talked about over at Echo Park. Hey, we need to find something. They're 3 wide, some of those teams right now, such as Berteau, such as Russell, a couple of the others. Russell was very quick on last start. He never got contact. And contact indeed is time for Mepting. Sends Berteau up the racetrack into the path, and Noah Gilles for the caution.
That's one of those domino effects, wasn't it? It was going to cause a caution at some point. Just who was going to be the one to spin round? Eventually, it happens. And a couple of fairly big names from the early part of this race. Alain Berteau is the one with the meatball, but Gilles also drops a few places as well in that exchange. As I say, it was a domino effect, really, and there was always going to be a caution. It just depended on who it was going to be for in the end. But a real shame for Berteau, because that's some pretty significant damage. You just see, as soon as you get sort of out the groove there and you lose the momentum, you're very likely to be cleaned up by somebody there, and Berteau certainly was.
Yep, and that is going to collect a few fast drivers. So just talking about this, Nexus had talked about they didn't expect how they think the ovals win in Atlanta, and they're not going to be happy about this one here. We're going from the top 10 to off the track. Big points loss. Coming up, F-Tank may have gotten a little bit of suspension damage, but that's about it from the send there.
Yeah, it looks to me like pretty much everybody else would have gotten away with that, other than Berteau. It's a fairly big slam, though, isn't it? It's a fairly big bit of contact, and it was on the rear right as well, which is certainly not suspension damage that you want. But in any case, meantime, live, everybody's coming in on the lead lap, apart from Olivier Simoneau, who is the only one staying out.
And so this is going to make it to where fuel's going to get a little intriguing. We talked about those fuel save marks a moment ago. Well, technically speaking, this gets us right into the fuel save part of that, maybe. We'll see how far these drivers are willing to go now, and it's obviously an interesting call for the 17 to not pit here and expect there might be another caution to get back onto the same type of strategy.
Or just going to come around next time by to go to the back. But yeah, it's a bold call if that's not the idea here, and the idea is to stay out on the racetrack and lead the field back to green again. I'm not sure about that call, but it might just be a call to try and get back to the back of the field. Simoneau qualified, don't forget, down in 13th place, so has been used to running around at the back or near the back for the majority of this race. Maybe didn't want to risk being in the middle of the pack on this restart, so we'll see second time round, but pretty uncomplicated for the rest of the field. Everybody else coming in. Rudin F-Tink was the only one to have a slightly longer stop than everybody else. 13.7, as opposed to everybody else is sort of in the mid-7s to mid-8s range. So, yeah, all in the same range apart from F-Tink. And indeed, Simoneau is coming in, as well as Marco Aurelio Brazil, it looks like, who's come in as well. No, stayed out in the end, and might well get his lap back now.
And so, indeed, 17 takes the pit road closed penalty for whatever reason, and Brazil gets lucky and now gets the lap back, but is not in the range to make it on a potential one-stop here. So with that in the conversation point, we get regrouped again, is all you can say. And our short-run burst for a one-stopper likely for a lot of these drivers with a bit of fuel saving. So how does this now go? You have two teammates lined up from I5G still controlling things and in Clement as well as Edwards. You have Alexander Russell's Power Slide car now in third. Christian Bauer's now up at the top 4 in the votive, followed by Povlones and Wakefield. Mixer, Vogelzane, Alexander, along with Taikila, are in the top 10. It's going to get interesting here with a couple of these teammates still staying in command once again, though. That's going to help them off the launch.
Yeah, it is, and potentially for quite some time afterwards as well. We saw the way they were able to work together earlier on. It looked impossible for anybody to even get in between them, never mind ahead of them or distancing them. So we'll see whether this race takes on a familiar pattern now that we get this race back underway again. About 20 laps closer to the finish, but no real big names, I guess, apart from Breteau, taken out of the equation so far.
I don't know how this works here with 76 to go at the stripe. Gas is on. Carts are off and away. Let's find out how this goes. Jacob Reed, by the way, has already confirmed there's going to be some issues for them the whole race. Turns out they put the Atlanta set in by accident instead of California. That's why Reed was 7 seconds off the pack early and is not in the right gear. All that being said, the top 2 with a good boost to start, right to the swap draft.
Yeah, and who can get in between them? Who can stay with them, maybe, is going to be the more pertinent question here, because we've already seen the fact that nobody can get between them. Russell and Kirkenbauer are the ones who have stayed closest, first of all, but a very sluggish restart from everybody else. We were asleep, really, and it means that, really, there's only 4 left at the front.
Yeah, and a couple of them want a battle. Kirkenbauer trying to break up the back and forth from the teammates. Couldn't get fully clear, though, to get in between them. We'll have to get back in line. Russell does the same thing. And already, top 4 situate themselves out. Still early on in the battles. By the way, coverage of the IndyCar Open Series 0 SOF is brought to you by Velocity Online Racing for the iRacing IndyCar community. Please consider supporting us and supporting our fundraiser and donate on GoFundMe. Right now, the battles continue. Majority of the field preferring the high side still, Ewan.
Yep, absolutely. That's what we've seen so far in this race, and it continues on here through the end of lap 22, which this will be in the next few moments. It really leaves an inviting door open on the inside line for anybody who fancies it, but so far nobody has, and for good reason, I think, as well, because when there have been attempts, it's been pretty difficult, really, for any driver heading down the inside like that to actually get anywhere. You can see here the lowest driver, not even in that very lowest groove, so yeah, it's not the place to be, and they're showing us as such as well.
It's definitely looking pretty solid in terms of what we're seeing from some of the fights, but as you can tell, one of the major things a lot of these drivers are going to be dealing with in this pack is trying to make sure they don't burn up these fronts, because this Aero package will absolutely see your tires get chewed up a bit in this draft with the more Aero push you get. There's a couple of the drivers like Wakefield saying, I just want to try and make passes. Looks like Wakefield actually jumped the queue. Didn't take the chance to close it, though.
No, and now gets a bit of assistance with some draft as the teammates exchange places up front, so that's not the worst place to be in the world. We'll be able to slide up to third place, but there'll now be no gap. Because those 3 on the outside of the ring so closely together, there's now no gap to get up to the high side, although it's not sure whether you'd actually want to go up into the gap, even if there was one anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Maybe just trying to be a little bit more safer, hope for a bigger gap. He's got a bigger gap if he wants it now, but not going to take it still. Still wants to use the inside to his advantage. Oh, wow. The purple car of Edwards cycles up front. Here's the 7. Nothing doing on the outside still. So many different plays here when it comes to the drivers on the lines, obviously. But you know who, on top of the swap drafting, has seen some of these moves here? You see with these onboards? Seb Alexander, who is 10th to start off the window, is already making up spots up to the chance for 6th back there also.
Yeah, you can see the initial sleeping on the restart from those behind the top 4 has been eradicated, really. Not totally, because some of them at the back are still hanging off the back, but you can say there's a top 12, really, forming again here. This is rather like what we saw at the very start of this race. A very close field all the way through. because of the draft around here. It eventually stretched out as we got through about 15 laps or so, but we're quite a way away from that at the moment, just coming up to about 10 laps in this current green flag run.
So far, so solid, I think, for most of the field. Brazil, reference, going to need a caution flag, as we touched upon, is going to already be 20 laps into his fuel run. His blue machine runs about 12, for those curious. That being considered here, Russell continues to do very well. Again, has worked with teams in NASCAR. He's been a designer, working well in that top 4 as we go. That pink power slide car still having to fend back so much traffic, though, because the outside of the fence seems to be the case here. Here's Russell for his sake. Wakefield just about trying to send it on the high side of him.
We've seen Wakefield perhaps one of the most aggressive drivers in this race so far, certainly since the restart of this race about 10 laps ago. Now to the inside, though, of Russell, and there will be a gap there off of 2 if the 14 wants to slip into it there. It's a fairly narrow gap. There was a gap briefly, but again, Wakefield has to give the room to Russell on the outside there, who will get straight back past again in this fight for 4th.
Yeah, this is some good battling. He got a little tight, though. That's the risk there with some of the play. And right now, those pass attempts are starting to come into the worst possible direction. 14 not working out there to clear back to the outside. And that's the tough thing. You got to choose your spots, as we know. Wakefield seems pretty content on the sends, but those tires are starting to give away now that we're getting to the point of more patience driving.
Yeah. We're about a third of the way through this race now already. So there is just a little bit more, elements coming into this now. There's a few more elements that are going to start to come into this. But those first green flag pit stops, if indeed we are going to get green flag pit stops at all, have been delayed somewhat. I mean, they're going to be quite a way away now, 20 laps or so maybe, until we see those again. The only driver who will have to do that early, of course, Marco Aurelio Brazil, who pitted 10 laps earlier than everybody else.
Seeing just how much Alexander is amongst those, again, trying to ride. Seb, in his previous starts, has done pretty solid here after all, but in your opinion, how much you're adjusting in terms of that weight jacker at this point to try and counteract the handling here in the pack to make sure you're still maintain the more than 200 miles an hour you're expected to have here?
Well, exactly, in the pack. I mean, Clement and Edwards are probably, I'll be surprised if too much movement's happening, but in the pack, I mean, definitely it depends whether you're properly in the draft, in the dirty air, I should say, how many people are in front of you. That will be changing all the time as well. What line you're having to take. All these things you've got to factor in when you're going into each end of the racetrack. It's one of the reasons, we always say it's more complicated than just turning left twice every 30 seconds. It is much more complicated than that because of all these changing factors that are happening, especially down the back end of the pack. And of course, the consequences are so deadly, as we've already seen here today when you're racing at such high speeds as we are here tonight at Alta Club Speedway. A great throwback for us tonight to come here in iRacing.
Near contact just now, Alexander and Wakefield a squeeze. Wakefield, who ran some vintage races, also nearly having a bit of contact there. A little bit more calmer in terms of the case for the 3. And this is one of those situations you have to think fuel mapping also coming into play, not just in terms of the weight jacker possibly. If you're playing around with the fuel map to save the gas too, that's going to set you up if you're able to go for an under overcut to get some freedom later.
Yeah, and I do wonder whether fuel strategy has been made even more interesting by that first caution of the day, because it's forced everybody to come in just before lap 20. How far, does that mean they're going to be still making it a 2-stop race and only stopping once more, cutting the rest of the race, the rest of the 75 laps roughly in half? Or are they not going to be able to do that? They're going to have to come down another 2 times on top of the one they've already been down. I mean, some of those things will only be a factor if this race stays green all the way. But 2 weeks ago in this split, we had a very, very clean and green race. And it looked like we were going to earlier as well. We have already had one caution, but It's not one of those races where you've got fear in every turn that there's going to be a caution any minute. It's not one of those races quite, but we'll see whether there's another one. It's very difficult to predict from this far out whether there is going to be another one here tonight.
Definitely a curious case if we'll get one. This is a track where it's a bit harder, at least to me, to actually get those incidents stacked up here. And right now, this field really racing itself very clean. This pack will decimate itself once we get to the green flag stops, expected here in about 20 or so laps, give or take. So, that being said, good opportunity to talk about here some of the drivers we haven't touched on, those Rogue Racing cars. We haven't touched upon them quite yet. Gilles is actually the highest running of them, has ran just about every race in this split so far in the 5 car. He's now continuing to move up the field, up 9.
Yeah, indeed. One of the bigger movers forward so far. Not the biggest quite, but definitely one of the... I mean, there were 3 at the back, weren't there, who I certainly thought would be moving through the field. Gilles being one of them. Seb Alexander, who's the only one who's done better in terms of positions gained, up to 6th place, moving through the field nicely as well. And Kyle Klendworth hasn't quite done it the same. It's only 11th at the moment in the number 1 car, but I really did feel there was a group of 3 back there in the final 3 places they were, who we should really look out for. And certainly Keeler and Alexander have imposed that so far. Alexander now into the top 5 for the first time.
Seb just picking him off, 16th in the points overall coming into tonight. Seb is get a win, let alone a top 5. Will this be the chance to get one up on the board? We'll see. But your current race leader, and currently amongst those in the top 10 in overall points coming in, has gotten themselves some good speed with the pole this year. Still looking for a first win also. So they're one of those drivers that's competed with a lot of incident points in 3 weeks coming in, just outside that top 5. Looking to pick up some big points here today in this SOF race. Try and turn things around, if you will, right now, the New Zealander.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still early on in the season, very early on in the season. It's only week 4, of course, of season 3 in 2026. But if you get yourself off to a good start, you give that little bit of a better safety net for you later on in the season. And there are some very difficult races to come, not least in the oval side of things. Nashville next week will be pretty difficult. So will Milwaukee at the final oval race of the season. So, as I say, you want to bank those good races early, as Russell here does get in the middle of the 2 Clement and Edwards, who have worked so well together so far in this race.
Yep, but now with Russell breaking up that group, you're looking for the lead. Look at this. Russell takes it away. Long run strikes for Power Slide, and Russell's to the race lead. Now what's going to happen here with everybody else? Let's find out. Look how much quicker that 3 seems to be on the center roll. That's a big advantage for this part of the run. To see someone make a pass this lane to a run is a little bit rare here.
Well, has that been the case the whole time for Russell, and he's been hiding it? Or is it the case that this is a long run car really getting into this now, really starting to get into the run? And you can see, by the way, what a stranglehold the front 2 had over the field, and just what an effect it has when they're not 1 and 2 swapping like that anymore. Because Kurtzenbauer gets straight ahead of Edwards as well. Seb Alexander will be hoping to do the same. So just shows if one of the drivers can get in the middle, it opens up an opportunity for the whole field to try and come through as well.
And let's find out if anyone else takes it now that we're seeing some of that decline for Logan Edwards here. Edwards starting to fade. I'm holding on to the speed, but Kurtzenbauer is ready to pounce. Here comes the Votive. Again, hits a brick wall. Might be trying to save a bit of gas at the end of the straightaways. By the way, only Berteau is the driver out of the race. Everybody else has stayed in it so far for those tuning in. There are 2 cars not in this main pack that we'll keep an eye on in a little bit. Roden Eftink and Jacob Reed. Reed for setup, Eftink for damage contact from earlier. Everybody else has maintained up here However, a lot of these drivers are starting to plow off the corner to Ewan. That's going to be so critical in a bit.
Yeah, it's happening more and more as these runs get longer and longer. Well, this run, rather, gets longer and longer. The guy's coming up towards 30 laps now. Marco Aurelio Brazil's still out there, nearly 40 laps into a stint in the 10 cars. So we really are starting to see more, certainly more than earlier, where we didn't even see 20 laps. We're seeing the effects of long runs now. And again, the stretching out of the field is starting to happen now as well. So Russell, Clement and Kirchenbauer are the ones who are starting to just pull on the elastic again a little bit out front right now.
Playing with the gears, if you will. Trying to break up the status quo. We're almost at halfway in the race, by the way. It's been zooming on by since that first caution. As you would expect, these races are expected to take about an hour or so, after all, as the target. Quill amongst those battling. No. Inside, not going to stick. And here he gets rammed over by an air-votive car. Pavlone's able to cross them up. The 6 had to go for evasive action. Same for Micah Mixer's machine. Both of them having to take the inside and make some passes here with how big that checkup would have gotten.
Yeah, indeed. Going down the line. And again, it's just serving to stretch out this field even further. Only a few moments ago, Simoneau, who's now at the back, or whoever it was at the back in about 13th place, is only just over 3 seconds off of the overall lead. You can see now 4.5 seconds. So, and that's that gap is pretty much bigger the whole way down outside of the top 5 here, or indeed in this fight for 5th place, which is really starting to develop here. Pavlone's currently in that position. And there goes Seb Alexander back to the inside again as they just hover around a second off of the current race lead.
Pavlone past the halfway point in this one. Everyone else remains uber patient, if you will. Russell is courier leader. Clement followed by Kirchenbauer, still in the top 3. Followed by Edwards, Pavlone's, Alexander, Quill, and Mixer, who are amongst us side by side. Then Kyle Clenworth and Jared Wakefield are inside your top 10. A good time to mention that Velocity Online Racing delivers professional iRacing broadcasts for an authentic race day experience. Our custom IndyCar style overlay creates a clean and immersive viewing experience reminiscent of professional motorsports broadcasts. Streamed in 1440p, 60 FPS production with expert commentary, Velocity Online Racing gives your series the presentation it deserves. Broadcast packages start for as low as 50 euros per hour. Contact velocityonlineracing.com at Gmail, or at velocityonlineracing@gmail.com to learn more. Lap times have fallen a full second, by the way, per the report, so we are seeing the fall off really come into play here. We're not necessarily in the green light on fuel yet, but it's close.
And just to put that second into some context, 33-second lap times are currently what we're doing. First of all, that's the first bit of context. That's a 3% drop off already. That's fairly significant. But also the amount of this racetrack, which is just flat out down the back straight and the front straight, it is very, very significant percentage of the lap where you can't really do very much to actually affect the lap times anyway. Obviously, there'll be a little bit of an effect from the runs off of turn 2 and turn 4, which are diminishing slightly, but the big losses are being made through the middle of the turn here. We've already seen how big the middle of the turn is, especially for Alexander Russell, and he was making his way to the front of the field, which he still holds, of course, but that in context of this racetrack is a significant amount of drop off, but they're persisting with it, it looks to me, because they want to only make one green flag pit stop if this goes green the entire way home.
Exactly here, and it's going to become the important part of making sure you time this up just right on the lap now because of that, and save a little bit of gas if for a vast majority of the field know you need to save with the fuel mapping as we go. And obviously, if you're leading, you burn up a little bit more. We know for certain the 7th, but amongst those in the Lipton Coast, amongst those going. Mixer, you're on board with right now, is amongst those still trying to ride, and it's caught up to Edwards, who's plummeted to 5th.
Yeah, indeed. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but the stranglehold that Edwards and Clement had over the field was really helping. Well, it's helping both, but it seems it was helping Edwards even more. Now the H slips back to 6th position again with the pass of Micah Mixer, although wasn't brave enough to go up and pull in front of Edwards there, coming off of turn 4. And so Edwards is able to come back, but no further. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's just a lot being taken out the tyres from Edwards right now. Maybe the long run pace anyway is just not as good as he was hoping for. But yeah, this is going the wrong way for the 8 car right now.
Yeah, some of these drivers definitely are taking some plummets compared to some of them that are taking some rocketability, if you will, up the field. Clendy might be someone to keep an eye on for the long run. See if there's a boost. We'll find out pretty certain. Things go on the pit strat. But you still see Russell. One still's using that bottom of the racetrack, stretching out the legs. It's led out 14 laps so far. Hasn't been able to break away, though, with the way the package works. We're coming to 40 to go this time by. 40 laps to go, just about in that green light for the fuel tanks. This time through, let's find out what we're going to see here in the next few moments. Right now, Russell still only in 5th gear down these straightaways compared to 6th gear for the drivers behind.
Yeah, so 40 laps to go, 38 laps in this stint as well. So we're also not only getting into that sort of window where they can do it, but also where they're at halfway. So as in splitting the rest of the race into half, sorry. And so we really must be close now to seeing some pit stops from some of these guys. You could just, I just thought for a moment, just as a couple of the guys were staying quite low through 3 and 4, thought they might go for it. But not yet. We still continue to wait. And we go back to the second group now on the road as well. Much more defined second group on the road off the back of the first, which you can see here breaking away fairly comfortably. And it's not a huge number either at the front anymore. Just 9 now in the front group.
Yeah, this pack is splintering, in part because there's those pit stops. Noah Gilles is in. As lap traffic road and F-Tank hits the brakes and moves out of the way. Very courteous of him. So window is open. We have a crasher down pit road. It is Simono around the 17. Lost it on entry. That's not a way to pit.
But it's also not a way to bring out a caution either. I made it sound like he was trying to do that, but no, he's just trying to. He's just trying to get it slowed down. And just as he was, I think, fearing breaking the speed limit, you just see him increasing the brake pressure just a little bit as he's banging down the gears pretty quick as well. He just locks the rears and spins it into pit road. It's a classic pit road entrance spin, I would call it, as more pit stops this time around, but cleaner ones as well for Anna Klemic, who leads on the next line, or starts, I should say, the pit stops really for the front of the field. So
Clement coming on down, had been once those up at the front, now looking for the undercut call. Here's the responses for some. That includes Russell and Logan Edwards, who got a big boost before that point.
So they had to react here to Clement, and a lot of them have. This is why it's a good idea for Clement to go alone, because don't get all of the faff that you do when there's so many others around you coming down pit lane altogether. I make it 6 coming down pit lane this time round, as they all try and make their box as well, some of whom might actually be shielded by somebody else already in their box or something like that. Now coming past again, another the front 4 left on their own. I think they've gone on again. I know one of them has. Kirkenbauer, Klendworth and Mixer all respond the very next lap.
Yep, everybody, as expected, at the end of the fuel tank, still going to be in the fuel range for saving, based on some of the numbers, if not just about it. There's Russell. Look at Klemic driving on by. There goes the 4 up in front. Logan Edwards, though, is ahead of them both and is well down the road. Logan Edwards, with the advantage, has the net race lead and is about to take it now.
Yeah, so again, who makes the front group here? Because not all of the 9 who were there before are going to be there afterwards. I mean, Povlones is pretty much out of this because of going so long. Let's see the next load of rejoins, but it looks to me like Edwards and Klemic are in danger of getting away from the entire rest of the field. Kirchenbauer has given himself the best chance of staying with them, but even he has been overhauled by them. Look at the gap they've got here. Edwards and Clement could work to potentially put this race victory out of the reach of everybody else if they play this right. They're not quite going to do that, but they certainly are going to reduce this front group to a very small one.
That was expected, though, with the way this race can go.
Oh.
Look at this, though, with some of the charging by Russell, trying to take the lead. They'll pass by one more driver. Pavlones comes out of pit road. Russell tries to battle hard. Russell looking to try and get a huge boost.
Yeah, and he knew immediately when he saw that the two teammates were out front like they were earlier, it was going to be very difficult if they got settled like that to get in the middle of them. And so he's done it straight away. Perhaps sacrifice some tyre life later to make this gain early. And there he goes indeed into the race lead as well here.
Alexander Russell retakes the race lead, passes by Edwards after closing up about a half a second to a second near immediately. Now it's in front of the i5G machines for him. Kirchenbauer still amongst the top four. Logan Edwards, though, will go into the swap draft. And remember, this is going to be a pretty pivotal part of the swapping back and forth for this race lead, because in the long run with these tires, you might not be able to make the same type of moves. You have to go back and forth like this until the pattern settles.
Yeah, exactly. It can be quite a difficult pattern to break as well. So that does make it somewhat frustrating, I suppose, to be a part of. But fighting is also making sure that there's going to be a fair few in this leading group, probably 8 actually. Looks like Seb Alexander's the only one who's going to miss out from who was here before, but he's with Brazil at the moment and they're looking to work together to get involved here. Don't think Brazil has got the fuel to go to the very end here, pitting at least 10 laps earlier than everybody else at the front of this field here. But there you can see their view is one of a front group of 8 who are all just about in touch here, fighting for the race lead into the final third.
Still 31 laps to work with here in this one. If you're enjoying Velocity Online Racing's coverage, please press the like and subscribe buttons to help us and the YouTube algorithm. Speaking of looking to press like or maybe find speed, on top of the battle for the race lead, it's going to get interesting for the four. Clement, who looks to try and join their teammate. That swap didn't work, interestingly, though, for Edwards. Just seeing how Russell on the inside was able to defend in first defense. Not going to last to the back straight away. Same going to be going on for third with the change.
Looks this 2-in-1 as well for Kirchenbauer. Maybe. Can he slide up in front of Russell? Not sure quite, but Russell's going to be boxed in if Kirchenbauer wants to force that, but doesn't. Russell instead gets the run on the outside and looks to get straight back in the race lead again. So this is a very, very changeable scenario. Makes you wonder really about the first part of the race. Were they purposefully not changing positions when they could have done a little bit more, just to keep things calm early? I wonder, but for now they're properly going for it, and even Pavlones is able to get back involved here despite going very long on that that green flag stint there.
Yeah, I think right now we're going to have to keep an eye on a couple of these drivers. There's those 6, by the way, Pat Clement, who's going backwards, and there's Clendy, Kyle Clenworth. Usually good in the league scene. Today, he's been pretty quiet-ish in the season. Not amongst those of the top 25 of the point standings, but when he gets a chance on the ovals, he's usually fast. That's why he's looking fast now in the top 5.
Everybody, I'd say, in this top 5 has got a decent chance in this race. They're there. They've made the group. They've made this split. Clenworth has got to be a little bit careful of that gap that's just opened up in front there, but it looks like these top 4 are just going to battle their way, back into the rest of them anyway. Although Russell and Edwards do seem to have found a bit more of a pattern than earlier. It's not teammates, and that does make it a little bit more frail, the agreement they have between them.
Kind of so, but really, what's agreements to the end where eventually those agreements get lit on fire anyway to decide who's a race winner? Russell makes another swap again. I mean, in that effect, you obviously want to work with your teammate, Ewan. But the problem is, have you noticed, there's not really any teammates up here except for third and fourth.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it is true as well that even amongst teammates, I would say that those agreements would be ripped up in the final 5 laps anyway. But it's more about these. When I mentioned working together, it's more about these temporary alliances that can form. Edward, it was probably a better word for it. Edwards and Russell have seemed to have found one of those right now, and yes, it's only going to last for the next. Well, it might not even be 10 minutes, but so it's a very short partnership. But you know, it's very, very helpful, just almost for the stability of this entire race more than anything. You almost don't, in many ways, don't want it to descend into chaos, and by working together in a temporary alliance, they can make sure that they are at least first or second going into the final sort of 5-10 laps of this race and give themselves a very good chance. If they just fight it out, and also with the rest, there's a bigger danger factor of being involved in a crash, and there's also a bigger chance they end up down the field here. And if you're sort of down in 8th or whatever, which you could be still in this group, but 8th place or 9th going into the final 5 laps, I don't think you've got much of a chance.
You better find the right way to go. Look at this, the second. Look at this for the lead. Remember what we just talked about with Glendy? It's time for him to strike. Race lead, Kyle Clenworth. Does that last though? Already the second coming up from Edwards in the back and forth. 23 laps to go.
Yep, straight back through. And in behind, look at a low line from Kirchenbauer there. We haven't seen that too much today in terms of running right towards the white line on that inside line there. In the end, it does hurt your exit compared to those who'd be running further up high, which has been the real story of the day. But maybe it's just happening all over here, that they're just coming off the top maybe by a lane or so. And that was contact with the wall by Russell. That could be incredibly costly.
Yet again, some more kisses there to the wall, and that's plummeting him down the order outside the top 5. You cannot afford any bits of contact with this car. You risk the damage. Let's take a look at what happened here in that situation. That was a hearty hit.
That was quite heavy. It was all dirty air and tight race car as well, by the looks of it. Look at it. Oh, it's just... You know, you feel as if there's no point the front wheels even being on the ground at that point, because they're just not turning the way you want to. And he might have gotten away with it. It was a hard hit on the wall. He might have gotten away with it. He is still at least able to hold 6th right now. It's not horrific damage, but let's see how bad it is as the race develops here.
Gonna have to keep an eye very quickly who's gonna be able to control their car here with about 20 to go this time. It's getting more and more difficult to keep stable. Side by side, still for the race lead. No one really getting the chance to clear this time, actually. Edwards, high side, inside, Glendy. Kirchenbauer also joined on the high side with Pavlones working his way inside for 3rd. Still equal for the race lead.
Very, very even for the race lead right now, heading into the final 20 laps. This is seemingly the end of these partnerships now at the front of the field, of exchanging places amicably. I think that is over. It's finished a bit earlier than I thought it would, actually. I thought they'd maybe get to 10-15 laps to go before they really started to race properly like this. But we're not complaining, because it's 3 wide again here, potentially, for the race lead.
3 wide potentially. Will this happen again for some of the battling? You can see how the 7 wants to go. Edwards again tries to take the shuffle. Back up the inside. He goes as they continue to fight hard up at the point. Slide up there by the 1. Edwards now gets himself settled for a moment. Brazil, by the way, scheduled pit stop after the wing change, will not get himself a good finish in this one. Everybody else continues to see how the outside loses ground. It's now the 6 to the lead.
Really good progress on the low side from Pavlones, and the lead that has been fashioned out of this is quite extraordinary. It's going to get dragged back again, obviously, but the lead that was being held there for a moment was quite extraordinary, and maybe just opening the door, opening people's eyes maybe a little bit to what can be done on that super low side there, where Pavlones was almost scraping the apron through 1 and 2 the last couple of times.
And you can maybe pull that off with the stock car. It's a little bit more tricky to do that, even as we know, when it comes to this machine, in terms of what's going to happen with the transition. but you can tell just how much they want this. Mixer just confirmed they've got right side damage to their car. They're going to plummet. They're running 8th. Clendy trying to find a way outside. No. Edwards back to 2nd.
Is he going to be able to get to the lead again by turn 1 with Povlones? It looks like it. And Clenwood wants to take both of them here. Has barely featured in the fight for the race lead so far as Kyle Clenwood. But finally, when the time is right, when the race is running out, it is Kyle Clenworth who is challenging for this race lead again.
And looking for it once more to the inside. Coming to 16 to go, make it 15. When it gets to the stripe, back and forth we go. So what's it going to take, do you think, Ewan, for you to secure this lead? Because by now, normally, we see the field single file out. That hasn't happened this one. But a smoke in the background, 2 with a wall contact.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to see more and more of that over the next few laps because everybody's just taking more and more risk to try and get the race lead here, the race win. The front group will start to whittle down a little bit. You can see the gaps again behind, and those will only continue as guys hit the wall, coming off of 2 and 4 especially. Everybody just pushing that little bit harder now in the final 15 laps.
Yeah, you can tell how nerve-wracking it's going to get now with only 14 laps to work with up on the board. How is this going to work out? Well, it all depends on what the field decides to do with some of the dancing around, if you will. Late in this one. No more dancing this time through, at least. They all stay, for the most part, single file, staggered single file this time through. Edwards is your leader. Clendy in 2nd. Kirkenbauer in the top 3. Povlones, Klemic in the top 5. Here comes the run for the 1 again. Coming up to 12 to go this time by.
How are they managing this at the moment? At super high speed, barely an inch between them at all times, it feels. But still keeping it clean and green, racing as they have done since about the 20th lap of this race when we restarted. The final contenders are really starting to show themselves now. Even Keeler, who we've not really seen too much at the front of the field, has been hanging around at the back of this group pretty much the entire time. Is now starting to get a bit closer to this race lead as well. But for now, it's Edwards, Clemeth and Kirchenbauer down to the bottom side.
You see the send. First time up front, really, for a couple of these drivers to go. Kirchenbauer has only led 1 lap tonight. Looking to lead another. Doesn't have that chance yet. Edwards retakes the lead. Coming down to about 11 laps to go. Right now, you have a good fight. I5G, Votive. Amongst those in this, you have Rogue in the mix as well as Power Slide. This can go many different ways from the team side. But there goes the 7 again. Preferring the slide attempts into 1. Edwards with the setup preferred in the back straightaway angles. There you see him down the straight.
Surprisingly amicable that time round, considering what's been kicked off already here. Clemworth looking to the inside of Kirchenbauer there, but can't quite. There goes Clemic now. Has spent quite a long time away from the race lead. And I wonder whether Clemworth got into the wall there or just got close to it coming off of turn 4, because that was a terrible run to the front straight.
Yeah, again, it seems to be the kind of play with 10 laps to go where you'll see these big runs come in back and forth. But somebody has to hold on for the end. And here's the thing. They've got traffic eventually they might reach by the end.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's only, 9 of them here we can see at the front. There's 3 cars still running a lap down. There's 2 who are dangerously close to being lapped. Maybe that will be the big factor here in the final 10 laps, as if there wasn't enough variables and factors being played out between these guys at the moment.
Exactly here. See Clemic amongst those move to the bottom there. Trying to regain some positions and try and find a way to get to the teammate at the very least. Look there, offset 3 wide for a moment. Clendy trying the outside, got to 2nd with it. Zooms on by, back to P2, takes away the salvage run. Yet again, these drivers not afraid to burn up some of their equipment late. A chance for an SOF victory on the line with less than 8 laps to go. Clendy to the race lead. Kyle Clenward crossed up by Edwards.
Well, exactly. If it's not going to be now, then when? Because this is a big chance for a win for all of these guys. The moment Clemworth and Edwards seem to hold the bit of an edge, but we've seen how quick Clemic has been today especially. Surely there's one last go from the 4 here before this race is over, as well as Kirstenbauer, who's been making some aggressive moves down to the low side as well. But for now, Edwards and Clemworth would have been a photo finish there, but there's still 7 laps to go.
Still have to find their way through more cars here. Roden Efting's up the road. Noah Gill's up the road. Olivier Simoneau is up the road as well. Those drivers will have to make sure they give space when the leaders get up to them, depending on where they reach. This time, no Sen completed up through 3 and 4. Here comes Pavlones. He wants the lead back again. Led earlier on for 4 laps. Looking to drive to the front again. Again, this is the car with the freshest tires in this mix. Can't get them to stick this time.
Not that time, but here is the lap traffic for the first time and just stays out the way. But I think the Dirty Air did play a bit of a role for Pavlones there, who I thought was on the right line there and had the momentum, but I think the Dirty Air maybe just slowed that a little bit. Now does he slide up in front of Edwards there? There's a chance to, doesn't decide to. Coming to 5 to go.
Gotta be decisive. Oh, look at that, 3 wide. Going right up the middle. Gap was left. Now it's back to 2, back to 3 nearly. Edwards got tight, had to adjust and get off the throttle.
There was a gap there. There was an opening for Edwards. I don't know whether he couldn't or decided not to, but there was a gap there for a moment. It closed pretty quickly. It was a big move from Clemworth, though. You see the momentum that you can get coming from 3rd or 4th, and it's Kirstenbauer who's got it this time.
Drivers getting 2 by 2 here. 4 laps to work with. Oh, a tech issue. That's not good at all. That was some issues for the 6, and up the track goes Clundy. He hit the wall. Is he going to have any issues here with that wall scrape? He's lost the lead already.
It was a very small bit of contact, in fairness, so I think he'll get away with it. And he didn't even seem to affect his momentum too much coming onto the backstretch that time round, but Pavlones is going to take the lead with 3 to go here, and they do get past another bit of lap traffic. I think the last bit they'll have to deal with.
Especially with how quickly things are going. I think the traffic is just about out of the way now. Just being said, though, Pavlones knows it's time to get the Dragon out. It's time to drag them around the track. Coming at 2 to go. Everybody behind needs to go. Clean air is king now for the 6.
Who can muster up some momentum here from behind? Clemworth, Edwards, Kirstenbauer and Clemming are all in range, I would say. Anybody else a bit too far back, but they've got to get a run together, and they've got to sort of stop fighting so hard for 2nd place and start ganging up on 1st, I would say. Edwards does just about get clear, though. If that was a side-by-side run the whole way down, it could have been a problem, but Edwards just about gets through. Clemworth now retakes the position and now is challenging Pavlones as they come towards turn 4, and the white flag will be shown.
Coming up to the final time around, where does this go? The 6 trying to hold off the pack. The pack is coming, though. Here comes Edwards. Edwards swaps up to the lead. He's led 53 times today. Clundy on the top shelf looking for the run. To the back straightaway they go.
The momentum just at the right time here for Edwards. Bit of breaking of the draft. Unless there's a real run through 3 and 4, I think he's got this in hand.
It's looking good. Edwards come out of turn 4. Keep the gap. Maintain the gap. Logan Edwards wins in California. Edwards gets the job done today. Up at the head of the field by just over about a 10th and a half, 2 tenths. Casey Pavlones and Indy Kirchbauer amongst those in the top 3. That was exciting to end it at least 4 cars within a second.
Yeah, exactly. And not a photo finish in the end as we were expecting it could be, but still a good finish, and just showed that the momentum at the right time was so important there, because Pavlones got out to a very similar lead only 2 or 3 laps earlier than the one that Edwards eventually got and maintained home all the way to the end there. So yeah, props to Edwards for managing that, because that was timed absolutely perfectly more than anything.
Absolutely. It required the right time for the send. It required the right timing to close things out. And today, Edwards able to get the job done here today for him and his team. We'll take a look at this one more time. A couple of the other drivers in the pack. Glendy lost a lot of ground at the final corner. It became the type of race you need to make sure you survived upon. Logan Edwards, by the way, in live action, has wrecked the race car. So,
it's one way to celebrate.
So it's a good opportunity to talk about how things finished out tonight, as Edwards is in the midst of causing millions of dollars in damage. He was the one who took the win regardless, though, over Pavlones. Kirchbauer amongst those in your top three. Kyle Clenworth and Anna Klemek in the top five. 1.013 seconds the difference. Takio would finish in sixth with Seb Alexander in seventh. Micah Mixer mentioned he had damage, he mentioned on the radio, in eighth position. Alexander Russell obviously had an issue late, went from leading to 3-4 seconds back in ninth, and Gerard Wakefield down in the 10th position.
Milan Vogelsang and Olivier Simoneau were the last drivers to finish on the lead lap. Noah Gilles and Marco Aurelio Brazil were one lap down. Brazil obviously having taken that extra pit stop. Checo Reed was 2 laps down. Rodin Eftink was 7 down. I believe did get to the finish though. Alan Breteau, as far as I know, was the only retirement on the day.
We'll top to bottom at the runner here today as we get set for post-race coverage here on Velocity Online Racing. Again, for those tuning in, coverage of the IndyCar Open Series Euro SOF is brought to you by Velocity Online Racing for the iRacing IndyCar community. Please consider supporting our fundraiser and donate on GoFundMe. And if you enjoyed the coverage, press and like the subscribe buttons and like buttons to help us on the YouTube algorithm. Our top three now standing by, or at least some of the drivers of it. Race winner tonight, Logan Edwards gets the edge here this evening. Logan, it was up and down for parts of the way things looked with the pack, but you're able to maintain and get the lead on the last lap. Talk us through this one for you and your team.
Well, coming out of the primary North American broadcast Monday, we were quite off the pace, and this was really just a redemption race for us. Me and Anna were running two different setups, but both of them were improved from what we had Monday. Started out with us just swapping places because nobody really wants to lead here. We ended up still being able to stop near where everyone else did whenever Russell took the lead from us about halfway through the second stunt. And then from the end there, unfortunately, Anna couldn't hold on, but I just played chess, if you were, because I've been around these guys so long. I know all their strengths and weaknesses. I can hear them underneath me. I know where their grip is. I'd say that I played the end of that probably as perfectly as I could have.
Definitely, to say the very least, with the victory here today. You mentioned you guys had to make adjustments to the car compared to the North American SOF race. In what direction did you have to go to find this speed for the Euro SOF today?
Just underside things. We had just stuff you don't want to see in telemetry, really, because we had experimented with all sorts of downforce levels for Monday and nothing really quite worked. So it's satisfying to come here and get the win with improvements instead of just conceding and not showing up again.
So on that note here, you get the win today. That helps you, obviously, in the overall standings as well. You're amongst those higher up in the standings coming in. So now, with that being said, still plenty more to go on the season. It's early. We're already a third of the way through. In your opinion, how would you describe how things have gone and how, in turn, you carry that momentum into Nashville, a concrete oval next week?
I'm typically very good on concrete, so I'm looking forward to Nashville. Nashville is still not really as close as it should be to real life, but it is a type of racing that does suit me. So I think I'll be pretty strong at Nashville. I know that I have a week less than all of my competitors, which is going to shape up pretty well whenever the late weeks are in for everybody. So hopefully I can come away with this championship finally after all this time.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
Shout out to the team for all the work we put in last night after and before the SOF to just get things in order. Shout out to Caleb Brashear for being the spotter for me and Anna. And shout out to y'all for putting the Euro SOF broadcast on. It's a cool thing to have.
Congratulations on the win here today.
Thank you.
It was Logan Edwards who picked up the victory here today in this one. Second spot went away to Pobbs. It was Casey Pavlones who came away in second. He's with Ewan.
Yeah, Casey, welcome in. Congratulations on a second place run tonight. Not quite the victory, but very close. Tell us how important you think the sort of momentum was, or timing, I should say, was in that final run there, because it felt to me like you just had the gap in the lead at the wrong time, if you like. But tell us how you saw the final 5 laps.
Yeah, I was playing checkers instead of chess there. I thought maybe I got out to a really decent lead, and I thought maybe if I'm like a half a second ahead, I can just like give them dirty air and whatnot. But they kind of gained back up with 2 to go, and with 1 to go, they were right on me, and I figured I'm going to give Logan the bottom in turn 1. The bad thing is he cleared me, and then I got really tight, and it was pretty much over after that.
Tell us about the different lines in the fights that we just saw there, because I think we saw you especially quite on the low side when making passes, but see everybody running for the most part quite high normally. What was the sort of balance between the different lines in fights that we were seeing here tonight?
Well, I mean, it's just all about getting clean air and punching it when you need to. The first 2 stints, I tried passing on the bottom, but I was map 5. But yeah, it's all about just if you're on the bottom, you gotta have your tools right, or you're really, really, really loose. So it's all about adjustment. Adjustment instantly.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just saying you gotta adjust instantly for that stuff every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. So congratulations on the run to second place here tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the race as well.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. That is Casey Pavlones in second place here tonight, Justin, and I think Andy Kirschenbauer is there as well, waiting for us for third place finish tonight.
Yes, indeed is, and let's talk with them. Indy, you're able to come away with the top 3 here today. How are you feeling about how things went today in the votive machine?
Yeah, it was a good good run. It's just I think that we definitely had a really good setup, and yeah, just that those first couple runs, those were all about just mostly I was just saving fuel, and until the last run, at the start I was saving my tires, and then I just decided to go a little bit too early. Burnt my tires off for the end, but I'm still super happy with a P3 here, double podium for votive physical.
Definitely a good run for you guys here when it comes to this, and really you're amongst those also, not just with the field safe, but also so that seemed to roll through the bottom of the racetrack a fair bit as well when it came to the fight. What was it about the lane decisiveness here today with drivers trying to roll at the bottom compared to those staying up at the top side of the pack?
Yeah, I mean, I like the top more, but you got to go wherever clean air is. So I was running the top, and I would always just get massive aero wash. So once I saw they were swapping, and Anna and Logan were both leaving that bottom open, it's just better than getting aero wash from the outside. So yeah, that definitely helped me gain some spots there by people getting aero wash from the outside, even though it was the better line. Sometimes when there's too many cars, it's bad. So, yeah, it was definitely cool being able to go to multiple lines, trying to guess right, and yeah, it was a fun race.
Next week is Nashville. How do you feel about that track?
Yeah, Nashville, are usually pretty good on the ovals, so yeah, I'll definitely be there, and I think that it was certainly a good race, and hopefully next week will be a good one as well.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to here this week?
Yeah, shout out to my go-kart sponsors, BGM Marine Associates, Make Something on YouTube, and Bayside Comfort Heating Cooling, and then shout out to everybody at Bodiff for helping. Shout out to Casey for building the set, and yeah, just a super fun race.
Congratulations on the podium here today.
Yep, thank you.
IndyCar Power coming away with a top 3 today. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Velocity Online Racing. Your thoughts tonight, Ewan, as in the end, Auto Club / California definitely put on California expectations. Good battling all throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. As we expected, an enjoyable race of again, staying with the leaders for as long as you can, and then in the final moments, as we saw there, the battle finally commencing, and so many tactics as well in the final 5 laps, especially chatting to Casey there about those. His plan not quite working out how he had intended here. But, of course, somebody's got to lose out in a fight like that. And in the end, Logan Edwards was the one who was able to take the win. So smart driving from him, and a great run through the field to get into, leading 54 laps, you see there, but also winning the race, leading the most important lap of the race. So a deserved winner definitely in Edwards. But, yeah, so many tactics involved in it all, which just makes racing at places like Auto Club so fascinating to watch.
Let's take a look at what is coming up on the schedule, by the way, for our broadcast. As you can see, coming up on the 11th, there'll be Indy NXT competition. Be sure to tune in for that when they go to Phoenix. That'll be at 8 p.m. Central European Summer Time. Then the International IndyCar League will take place on the 12th at Michigan. Then the 14th is when you'll see the Euro SOF coming to play again. Nashville for that in Indy NXT competition. Those races starting at about 10 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central European Summertime, respectively. And then we return back to action a week later with Virginia being the place, VIR, if you will, when we go back to SOF Racing a week later. All that here on Velocity Online Racing. It's just about time to say goodnight for this evening's coverage of what was an interesting night here for your IndyCar Open Series SOF race. For my co-announcer and Ewan Dallara, for our producer and Julien Altena, he was our producer using onboard cameras provided by Julien and track cams provided by trackcams22.com. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Thank you so much for watching today's coverage on Velocity Online Racing. We'll see you next time. We travel our way from Fontana off to the Music City. Nashville is our next destination. The Superspeedway will be next week. Be sure to tune in.